Welcome to the Paper Snob. This is Tara. Today I'm working on All About the Mouse. We have a great inspiration photo for us to use to take inspiration in any way that we would like. I'm going to post that up here for you so that you can see that, see where we got our inspiration. And I immediately thought of Buzz Lightyear when I saw this particular photo. So I'm going to be scrapbooking some photos that I have of Buzz and Woody here that I've printed. We didn't get to see Buzz, I don't believe, when we went to Disney. We did get to see Woody, and I'll scrap those photos in at another time. But these photos kind of represent some of my kids' favorites. My oldest two boys adored Buzz Lightyear, and one of them even had a Buzz Lightyear costume at one time that after Halloween, he wore that thing everywhere, and I just let him because he loved it so much. It was an amazing costume. So I am going to be using, this is Catherine Puller's Out of This World, and it is scrap, so this is going to be also a Baby Got Scraps layout somewhat because there are scraps here. I also have some full sheets of 6x6 paper that I'm not sure I'm going to use. Maybe. I have two pieces of background paper for this page. It's going to be a double page. And I have a piece of green paper as well because I'm going to use it to make my alien on this cut file that I got from Pear Tree Cut Files. It's a subscription that I have each month, and so I get new fun cut files, and this just happens to be one of them. I'm really hoping I didn't lose the other pieces. Nope, there they are. Mouth and eyeballs. So I'm going to pause. We're going to get started, and I'll be right back. Because my pattern papers don't have the green in them like the photos that I'm using do, and I pulled in that green cardstock, I decided to use this texture paste from Vicki Boutin. It is, I believe, her Sweet Rush collection, or from the Sweet Rush collection. Now, I will admit that the texture paste is a little bit thicker than it should be, and that means that I need to use it faster because it's about to dry up. One of the ways that I help to prevent that is I do use press and seal over the top of the jar and then put the lid on top of that, and that helps seal it a little bit better. I am having a little bit of trouble spreading it because it is just so thick, and I end up wasting more than I normally would simply because it is so thick I can't spread it as easily. But that's okay. I'd rather use some of it than lose all of it as it dries up. And so I love that I was able to get the green from the cardstock in the photos onto the borders of my two pieces of white cardstock. Now, what I should have done is the top first, and I didn't. So you're going to see me flip the stencil upside down to get the top border done. And that works on the left-hand side really well, but on the right-hand side, there is a lot of stuff in front of the space where I work, and it was preventing the stencil from laying down flat, and I had a little bit of movement on the stencil, which means that there was more bleed through than in the other three places that I put the texture paste. I don't mind. Mixed media is meant to be messy, but if this bothers you, make sure that you always work on a flat surface when you're playing with texture paste. You can see how it's lifting up over on that left-hand side as I'm putting it down, and that's what happens when I place it down for the second page. The stencil cannot lay flat because I have a shelf back there with things sitting on it that I keep handy for when I scrapbook. It's just one of the ways that I have my space organized, and I didn't even think of the fact that I needed to do the top section first. Anyway, so as you can see, I'm really having a hard time getting this second batch to spread, and I'm going to try to scrape off as much as the extra that I can from the stencil and put it back in the jar. But other than that, I'm just going to go ahead and clean my stencil and come back. I allowed my texture paste to dry for about 2 hours. I spent the time working out and showering, eating lunch, and that gave the texture paste enough time to go ahead and dry well enough that I could finish this layout. So I took the pattern paper sheets and I cut them down to 2-inch strips, and I'm just going to alternate them all the way across the middle of my white cardstock. You can see I used my Omnigrid ruler to find the 3-inch mark from the bottom. That allows me to place them in the center of my cardstock, and it makes it very easy to line them up. So I really love this plaid, and funny fact, one of my kids has a shirt that is almost the same plaid. It cracked me up when I remembered that while I was playing with this paper. I didn't even buy this paper for that shirt, but I might see about using a piece of it on the layout for his senior pictures, because he's wearing the shirt in the senior pictures. It's too funny. Anyway, so I'm just, like I said, alternating them across both sides of the layout. That makes it it breaks up the darker print and kind of gives a lot of the color that I need to put on this layout. I'm not one for a whole lot of white space on my layouts, so I do like to make sure that I use a lot of color and get enough stuff on the layout that there's not a ton of white space. For my title, I did do a cut file from my Cameo software. Over here I'm straightening up my strips just a little bit. There was a little bit of a gap and I was moving it around. You won't be able to see the gap that I left at all because the pictures cover it up. So I did back this cut file off camera. The easiest way to back a cut file is just to flip it over and trace on the back side of your pattern paper or cardstock, and that is what I did for everything. I used vellum for the top of the spaceship. It was a piece of leftover scrap from a previous layout. I believe that is my Scrap Love Crafternoon layout from yesterday. So it is also a scrap, which is awesome because it means that I used yet another scrap on this layout. So I'm really trying to make sure that I put out a few of the Baby Got Scraps videos this month, just to use up a lot of these scraps that I have lying around my space. Originally, I was going to title this layout Fun Adventures, but then I decided I was going to use those letters over off to the side that you can kind of see. Those are Hip Kit puffy letters in orange. They sold a whole bunch of those, and you could buy them all, and I'm pretty sure I bought every color that they have. Anyway, I decided to put those up on little rectangles, kind of making my own tile letters with the scrap of the star paper from this Catherine Pooler 6x6 paper pad. And I had just enough of it to create the title, which is awesome. Again, I used up another scrap, which is really cool. This paper actually came in an Allison Davis layout kit from We Create in September, and I had used quite a bit of it with that, but still had plenty of it left over for at least one other layout, and I'm pretty sure I could do probably a couple more layouts with this before finishing it off. It's funny because I didn't think that I would ever use this paper, but once I opened it up and started playing with it when I was finishing up the layout kit for the We Create kit that I bought, I discovered that I really enjoyed playing with this paper. We got 2 of those in the layout kits this month. This one and a different one that has hot air balloons on it. Anyway, I'm just kind of creating little tile letters here, and as I put the orange down, I'm kind of struggling with the fact that it doesn't seem to stand out enough. So I'm going to take my one of my black bold pens, and I'm going to doodle around the edges of those letters because I feel like they don't pop enough with that, and I didn't really want to take the time to mat them on cardstock. So the very last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to go ahead and start creating some embellishment clusters. I don't feel like this layout needs a whole lot of embellishment because the papers and the texture paste and the cut file are pretty much enough, but I wanted to add some stars to it, and I used my Sizzix and some nesting dies to cut out some of the stars. I cut out 4 stars from 4 different patterns. These were all, except for the yellow, they were all scraps, and so I was able to just kind of bring in some small clusters, and I'm pretty happy with the way that this turned out. All right, I got my layout completely finished. I am quite happy with the way that this turned out. I was actually finishing it up and opened up my Disney photo album on my computer, and I did find photos of my kids with Buzz and Woody in front of this backdrop. So I was wrong. I do have them. So that means there'll be another 2-page layout for my Disney album coming up. So that was a great find because I thought I had lost those photos. And in case you're wondering, I had a little bit of computer issues during this time frame, and I lost some of my photos, and some of my other photos were on my blog. I had a lot of the photos that I took at the parks on my blog, and then this dummy accidentally deleted all of the photos on her blog in one fell swoop, and of course I cannot recover them. So some of the photos that I actually took are gone forever, which is disappointing, but I do have enough photos that I probably will have to buy a second album for Disney if I'm not careful. I want to thank you for coming to my channel today. I really appreciate those of you who take the time to like, comment, and or subscribe. If you're new here, I'd love to have you subscribe. Just click that button below. If you have any comments or questions about anything that I've done on this layout or any product I've used, just drop those below as well. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Please check out the description box for both playlists for Baby Got Scraps and All About the Mouse. I believe All About the Mouse is just a hop list and you'll have to click each link individually, but Baby Got Scraps does have a playlist and that information will all be down there for you. You guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.